Is there any basis in the Old Testament that Jesus is God? To answer this question, we're going to go back to the time when Moses was giving his speech in front of all Israelites, and he was telling them that his replacement would be Joshua. The story goes something like this. Joshua, son of Nun, was Moses' assistant, and since Moses sinned against God when God told him to provide water for the Israelites through the rock, but what Moses did was, according to God, disrespected him. So Moses disrespected God in front of all Israelites, and Moses was punished by God, and that was like, the punishment was he couldn't reach the promised land. Instead, Joshua would lead the remaining Israelites. So that's the story there, and from there we're going to continue. So Moses was giving a speech in front of all Israelites, and there. So in Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 3, that's where I want us to focus. It says there that the Lord your God, he is going before you, speaking to all Israelites, of course. He is going before you, and he will protect you, and he will give you the promised land. And in the last part of verse 3, he said this very important statement: Joshua will go before you, as the Lord stated. So basically that's it. So normally this passage is understood as this: Joshua, son of Nun, will replace Moses as the new leader of the Israelites, because Moses was being punished, as we said. And that's it. There's no problem about that, but I think we're missing something. Okay, so first, before we continue, we have to discuss something very short. There are some Hebrew names that I think have been translated differently. I mean, something like this. If you know Mary, the mother of Jesus, okay, so we call her Mary. She has the same name in Hebrew as Moses' sister, Miriam. In Hebrew, they are both Miriam. So Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Miriam, the sister of Moses, they are both Miriam in Hebrew. Another instance is the name James. James, the disciple of Christ, Jesus Christ, and Jacob, who was later called Israel. In Hebrew, they only have one name. They have the same name. So they are both called Yaakov, or something like that. I don't know, but I don't know the basis of the translators, why they did that from Hebrew to English. Like I don't know. Okay, now the case of Jesus is kind of the same. Jesus has the same name as Joshua, son of Nun. Okay, So in Hebrew, they are both called Yehoshua. Okay, Yehoshua. In short, Yeshua. So some Jews who believe in Jesus don't call him Jesus, they call him Yeshua, short for Yehoshua. Yehoshua, just like what we said, is also the name of Joshua. So there, so now let's connect. Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 3. So the Lord your God will go before you. He will protect you. He will give you the promised land. And Joshua will go before you as the Lord stated. Okay, so now that we know that Joshua and Jesus have the same name, exactly the same name, let's try replacing Joshua with Jesus. Okay, so does it make sense? Because they have the same name. Can we try it? Okay, so Jesus will go before you. Okay, so now can we actually do it? Oh, okay, at least we tried, right? We tried. Now, does it make sense? Okay, so does it make sense? To tell whether it makes sense or not, then let's have two interpretations. Okay, two interpretations. Okay, so let's have two interpretations for both. Okay, so the first interpretation is the normal interpretation, where Joshua, the person, Joshua, son of Nun, Joshua, son of Nun, is the one being referred to in chapter 31, verse 3. Okay, so what does it say again? It says Joshua, son of Nun, okay, or Joshua, son of Nun, will go before you. Okay, let's take the literal sense. Okay, so how do we take that? So Joshua will go before all Israel. Did he go before Israelites? Okay, so let's answer that question. As we can remember in the story, before the Israelites cross the Jordan River, Joshua, son of Nun, sent out two spies to spy the land, the promised land, especially Jericho. And there, they stayed in a place where Rahab was, and that's the story. Now, we're going to continue that later, but in the meantime, let's stop there. So, literally, and I'm saying this literally, Joshua, son of Nun, did not go before all Israelites, because he sent out two spies who were Israelites. So that makes him, if he was going to cross the Jordan after the two Israelites, then he would be like the third Israelite to cross the river Jordan. So he would not cross before all Israelites, because the two spies were also Israelites. Now, are we sure that the two spies are Israelites? We have the story found in the book of Joshua. So it says that when when there's a report, there are some people who told the king of Jericho, or the leader of Jericho, that there are two Israelites that were sent, that there were two Israelite spies that were like scouting the land. So that's how we know that they were Israelites. So Joshua, literally speaking, Joshua didn't cross the Jordan River ahead of all Israelites. Now, did he even cross the Jordan River like as a third placer? Let's just say the first placer and the second placer were the two spies. Was he even a third placer? What we know about what happened was when they were crossing, I mean Joshua and the Israelites, when they were crossing the Jordan River, the priests carrying the ark started crossing the Jordan River, and then they stayed somewhere in the middle, and then the water of the Jordan River dried up, and actually as soon as their feet touched the river, the Jordan River dried up, and so the priests carrying the ark were able to stay in the middle of the Jordan River. And then we have the 40,000 warriors of from the tribe of Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben. So about 40,000 armed warriors, and then the rest of the Israelites, and then the people that carry the stones from the river, because that will like be like reminder to the future generation that they crossed the Jordan River in like when it was dry, something like that. Like it's a miracle, and this is the proof. We got these stones from the river itself. We crossed the river, the Jordan River, on foot without using a ferry or without using anything. We just cross it on foot. So these stones, these 12 stones, are a proof. And then when everybody has crossed, the priests who were staying in the middle of the Jordan River, they finished crossing. We don't know when Joshua, son of Nun, actually crossed. Maybe he crossed after the 40,000 warriors and then before the rest of the Israelites. Maybe while everybody was crossing, he stayed near the priests carrying the ark. It's also a possibility. Or maybe he crossed the river ahead of everybody else. As soon as the water of the Jordan River dried up, maybe he crossed first, and then once he crossed, maybe he blew the shofar signaling to everybody it's safe, and then followed the 40,000 warriors, and then the rest of the Israelites, and then the priests. Maybe that happened, but we don't have a basis for that. So what we can say with confidence is that Joshua, son of Nun, didn't cross the Jordan River ahead of all Israelites, because of the two spies that we are sure crossed ahead of Joshua, son of Nun. Okay, now let's discuss explanation number 2 that says it's God. That's being referred to in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 3. That God will go before all Israelites. Did God do that? Did God actually cross ahead of the Israelites? We know that God can do anything, so I think we don't need to prove like to prove that anymore. But anyway, since for the sake of the argument, maybe we should, right? So what's the proof that God actually crossed ahead of all Israelites? Is there any proof? Or do we need a proof? Okay, maybe we should prove it. Okay, so do you remember the time when the story? Of course you should remember it, right? Because I just said it like earlier. Okay, well, when Joshua son of Nun sent the 2 spies, and they were staying at Rahab's house, Rahab hid them on the roof of on the roof, and then she covered them with something. So the soldiers of the king of Jericho, who were looking for the 2 spies, didn't see the spies, and Rahab told the 2 spies when the soldiers were gone. She told them that she knew that the God of Israel had given Jericho to the hands of the Israelites. So, coming from a non-Israelite, a sinner just like you and me, came the news that Jericho had already fallen, that the men of Jericho can't fight anymore because of fear. They're melting in fear. Okay, so Rahab also declared that the God of Israel was the God of heaven and earth. Like, wow, right? So from that point, we can tell that actually it was God's doing, because what Joshua son of Nun had done so far was to set out the spies. Like, he was just maybe gathering information on like the location and like the kind of people, the kind of land, and which points are the weak points, like how they are going to attack based on the situation of Jericho. But Rahab told the spies basically that the battle has been won by the Israelites already. So Joshua son of Nun was just about to gather information when Rahab told them the good news that they had basically already won. And so that's the proof that it was God that did it, because just like what we have said already, Joshua son of Nun was just planning. Okay, so that proves it, that it was God's doing, that it was actually God that is being referred to in Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 3. And it's not Joshua son of Nun. Okay, so that's literally speaking. Okay, now what about if we are going to take things not that literally? Okay, maybe what Deuteronomy 31 verse 3 means is simply something like Joshua son of Nun will lead the Israelites into victory. Okay, yeah, that also makes sense, right? Okay, so that makes sense because it happened. They were victorious. Okay, so they were victorious, so it happened. But can we say the same thing if we are going to replace Joshua, son of Nun, with God? Is it still true? So, Deuteronomy 31, verse 3. Okay, so if it's God and we're going to take it like not very literally, just like what we did earlier. So is it God instead of Joshua, son of Nun? Is it God that led Joshua, son of Nun, and all the Israelites into victory? I think that's also true, and I think that's better because as we can see, it's actually God that like that made the battle like very easy for the Israelites, very easy. In fact, just like what we said earlier, the battle was already won, and it can only be because God won the battle for them already. So in so if we're going to go back, we did we have two interpretations. Okay, the first interpretation is the common interpretation that it is Joshua, son of Nun, that is being referred to in Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 3, and that's the common one. And the not common one, this is what I'm proposing, that it is not Joshua, son of Nun, but instead it is God that is being referred to in Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 3. And actually, I'm not saying that the common interpretation, which is interpretation 1, is wrong. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there is another interpretation which is more supported, whether you take it literally or not so literally, just like what we have pointed out in this video. Okay, so maybe this is it, and I hope that you like this video. It's more actually like an audio but anyway, I'm hoping that you actually like it, and please tell me what you think of this video. Thanks for watching or listening.